Welcome to In the Loop Podcast, a podcast that is inspired by the breakaway roping lifestyle. I'm your host, Jordan Joe, professional rodeo athlete, NFR qualifier, and business owner. My goal is to promote the sport of breakaway roping, alongside with celebrating and highlighting elite competitors in and out of the arena. This podcast shares the raw and the real of breakaway roping, bringing you behind-the-scenes stories from competitors, producers, leaders, and the trailblazers, all sharing stories of the Western culture and the lifestyle that they live daily. Join me to talk about breakaway roping, the history, the present, and the future of our sport. If you want to be in the loop, you're in the right place. Thank you for joining us. Take a listen. Okay, guys. So today I am here with Colter Ellis. Colter is somebody that I've gotten to know through the college rodeo ranks. He was a Frank Phillips student when I first met him. And then it evolved to, I showed up at Cody, Wyoming, and he was the announcer there. He's been very involved with my husband and I, tie down roper, great kid. I'm very excited to have Colter to the show today. So Colter, thanks for coming.
Hey, thank you so much, Jordan. I'm really excited to be a part of your program. I'm excited to talk with your listeners and hopefully share some new ideas to help them improve their mindset and hopefully achieve more out of their life.
I mean, I say that you're a kid, but gosh, you sound so grown up and professional. You're really making me feel old here, Colter. But
well, thank you.
One thing that I really enjoy about you is you are so dedicated and committed. And that's one thing that really just caught my eye in the beginning. You are originally from Cody, Wyoming, 21 years old. You're in college right now at Tarleton State University. But I just kind of want to backtrack a little bit. When I first met you, you were at Frank Phillips for Kaylee Moyer, rodeoing over there for that program. And you came over and really, I remember you talking to my husband about, rope and tie down calves and what you could do better. And then it got to where you were sending videos and talking through some things, and you have a passion and a dedication for the sport of rodeo. So let's dive into that and talk about, just tell me a little bit about you and your history, background, and kind of where that passion for rodeo stems from.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm from Cody, Wyoming. I was born and raised there on a guest ranch. And I kind of think like the reason I'm so dedicated is like I'm dedicating everything I do. It's not just rodeo. It's whatever I'm focused on at the time. Like I'm all in. If it's rodeo, if it's skiing, if it's school, if it's hockey, whatever I was doing throughout high school and now in college, like I was all in. The reason was that because when I was growing up in Cody, I was raised on a guest ranch and it was an hour and a half from town, like middle of nowhere. And we only got to see people like once a year. Like when the guests came in during the summer months, that was the only time I really got to socialize. And it was always adults. It was celebrities. It was businessmen and women. It was war heroes. And so I was surrounded by elite champions from the time I had conscious knowledge of my existence. And so I really think like that's where like my work ethic came into play. And also like my parents too, like they were huge role models in my life. Like when I was 10 years old, we were at the guest ranch. And if they were working 15-hour days, like we didn't have a babysitter. So me and my 3-year-old sister, we were working right next to him the entire time. It was always about work. It was always about getting the job done. And it was always about doing it with a happy attitude, a smile on your face. You know what? You may not have to like the process, but you like the outcome. And so you do it with a smile on your face, always happy to be around, be pleasant. And so that's always kind of been my perspective on life is be pleasant, work hard, and eventually you will achieve your goals.
Right. And I've been excited to sit back and watch you do that over the last few years, and just your work ethic that you've put into everything that I've seen with my eyes, from in the arena to outside of the arena. You have been an inspiration to me, even at such a young age, and I think that that's exciting. And that's one of the biggest reasons I wanted to have you on the show today, is because there are so many mental performance programs that, the mentality, the champion's mindset, all of those things are so critical to what we say is rodeo, but really it's life, right?
Yeah.
It's life.
Absolutely.
And it's applying it to everyday life, in and out of the arena, your relationships, your family, your career, your goals, you name it, it applies to it. And I love how you said, I was the same, and I was committed and determined growing up. You were raised with that foundation and your parents were that role model. So break it down for me. Guest ranch. I mean, I know that it's a destination ranch. People come in and do that, but what was it like growing up there and getting to experience that? Like, what were some of the biggest takeaways that you had from that you feel have really applied to life down the road?
Yeah. So maybe I need to elaborate a little bit more. So it was a private guest ranch. And so it wasn't just random people coming in. Like, it was a very select group of people that the owners really liked. And so it wasn't just your average Joes that showed up. Like, it was people who were very, very successful. And so what I learned from that was really two things: how to live and how not to live. I saw the good and the bad of people. And I saw a lot of things I wish I didn't see. I saw a lot of things I wish that I could, replicate in my own life. And so the things I really liked was I saw people who were very, very successful in their industry. They worked really hard. They got lots of money. They're very successful. The things I didn't like was a lot of them were very unhappy with their lives. They didn't like where they were at. They had bad relationships. They had a bad attitude. They had anger issues. They would overdrink, do drugs, all these terrible things I witnessed my entire childhood because I was right there. If mom was cooking, well, I had to be right there helping serve. And so I was in a first class seat to watch all these things come down. And so being a kid who had to be an adult, basically, because I couldn't just be a brat. Like, if I did something bad, it reflected poorly on my parents. And so I had to grow up from a very young age and be, hey, you have to act like this. You're not like the other kids. You have to hold yourself to a higher standard. And so that was the biggest thing, is hold yourself to a higher standard in life. Just because people are doing things this way doesn't mean you have to do the same thing. And if you see something you like, take it and use it in your own way. Maybe not in the same way, but in a way that applies to your own life, that works for you, works for your process, and enables you to achieve the goals that you have in your heart. If that kind of answers your question.
Yeah, well, and I love that because, I think I've met your parents. I'm not sure if I've met your parents, but I just admire the fact
I know
that
Raymond has. I'm not sure if you
Raymond has. Of course, Raymond has. Raymond is the golden child. I mean, what hasn't Raymond done?
I love Raymond. He's awesome.
Me too. But I mean, the coolest thing about that is, okay, you put your child in that environment, which I'm not a parent, so I can't relate to that. But what a tough environment, and to have that perspective to pull out of that environment, hey, you take the good and you use it for how it applies to you. And I love that. I just did a podcast with Barry Lucero the other day, and we really talked about, oh yeah, he is awesome. If you guys haven't listened to that one, you need to for sure. But he was awesome in the fact that he was like, you have to do what works for you. Be you. We really talked about that and elaborated on what it takes to find your individuality, stick with your identity, build that foundation, all of those things. It was such a welcome conversation, but that's so true. And I love how your parents, really implied that to you as a young man. Take what you want and what you want to add to your life that's good, leave the bad, make it work for you, and go on with it. And you can just tell by your actions. That's one of the biggest things that Raymond and I, we talk about a lot is our actions and how we can be better, not just because of what we believe and what we're striving for in and out of the arena and all those things, but our actions aligning with what we believe in. And I think that that's something that is really neat. And I can see in you, your actions and your beliefs are aligning. What you tell me, you and I have had so many great conversations, but really this last, month or so, we've had some really good conversations about what you've got going on with your mental performance program, the Coco Morning Mojo. But I see you and I watch, so that makes me watch you more, right? So then I'm like, okay, I'm watching Colter. What's Colter doing? So that makes me watch you, and your actions are in alignment with what you say and what you say you believe. And so that for me is a conviction. And that's where, you and I, we have some really cool stuff to talk about today, y'all.
Yeah,
and I really, one of the cool things I want to bring today is that there are elite mental performance programs all over the world. And one of the things that you've done is you've compiled a lot of those who have went before you. You're using some of their information. You're pulling that into your program. You're letting that be an inspiration through your Coco Morning Mojo, which I'd love to say that. I'm probably keep going to say that over and over again.
Thank you. I like it too.
But yeah, so I mean, I think that that's so cool. But not only that, like, you're at such a young age, and you're striving to inspire those who are your same age, who are in college, who are in high school, the youth of our sport. You are taking a stand and going out there and being an independent young man to do what you believe in and grow and make this work. And so I think that I just want to applaud you for taking the stand at such a young age to say, hey, I believe in this. I am coming alongside with Inspire Elite Mental Performance, Colter Ellis, Coco Morning Mojo. I'm going to do it. We're going to go from there. So tell me a little bit about the Coco Morning Mojo, what it is about, and all the things that come along with it.
Absolutely. So first of all, like you were saying earlier, there's tons of different channels, different mental performance programs you can join. And I want to say they're all amazing. I've done a lot of them too. And I encourage you guys to check those out as well, because there's so much information out there. But the problem that I found, like with my own life, with the friends around me, in college especially, and you'll probably agree with your own life, that there's two things that are really, really precious and very, very hard to achieve, which is money and time. Those are two very precious commodities in our life. And I found that I wanted a sports psychologist so bad in college, Jordan. Like I love this stuff. I eat this stuff up. It just gets me so excited, but I couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford the $300 an hour rate. And so the only thing I could do was spend hours and hours reading books, listening to podcasts like yours, going to seminars, having conversations with my mom, who's also a mental coach and a doctor in her own right. And I had to do the hard work for the last 7 years. I put in the thousands of hours. And now I've finally gotten to a point where I have a beginning understanding of the mind, how to focus on the process, and how to think about ways you can perform better by focusing on your thoughts. But people don't want to do that because, one, it's too expensive, and two, it takes too much time. Those are two ways to get the ultimate outcome, which is understanding how to think. And so I wanted to put things in a package that anyone could listen to, right? I saw both the issues of time and money. I created the Coco Morning Mojo because I want people to be inspired to live their best life. And how I did that was I put it in a 5 to 10 minute package that's delivered every single day that instills the habits of doing something every single morning that's going to benefit you, your life, and instill work ethic and consistency into your daily routine. And also I put it at a price point, which is insane. And I know you've even told me that it's too cheap, and I agree, but I want everyone to have this opportunity because I don't want anyone to say, oh, that's too expensive for me. I charge $9.99 a month for this program. It's insane. I even agree, but I don't want anyone to say that's too expensive. If you can't afford $10 a month, stop going to Starbucks and buying $10 drinks because they do nothing for you but give you a little bit of a buzz. The Coco Mojo does the same thing for once a month. It gives you the inspiration, the know-how, and a simple process to follow every single day. It's very easy to follow. It's very clear, direct. Here's your daily thing. Focus on this. If it works with your life, apply it. If not, don't worry about it and listen to the next one tomorrow. Every week is a new topic, so you're always getting new information. We've gone over visualization, the importance of focusing on the process, upper limiting beliefs, how to reduce negative attitudes, even meditation. And so there's a lot of information out there. It's something I'm really excited about. I'm trying to grow it as a business, including different avenues, different programs as well here soon. But so far, I've been doing it for about 4 months now, and people just love it. And so I'm very excited for people. I'm hoping to inspire more people, and that's why I call it Inspire, just to get people out there following their dreams and doing what God created them to do.
Well, and I love that. And just so that everybody knows, I'm sitting here drinking my community coffee, which I made in my coffee pot with my Yeti. But I thought your Starbucks comment was so funny because I've been there. Like I literally used to drive to Starbucks every day just to get, Raymond, he would always give me a hard time. And he said, your Starbucks costs more than my snuff. And I'm like, I don't care. It's worth it, But it was worth it. Okay. So then that's another thing. Like, what is your mental champion mindset? What's it worth to you? And I love that. And, you and I having that conversation, I got on the Coco Morning Mojo. You set me up. It was an easy process. I get on there. It sends me alerts every day. Your Coco Morning Mojo. It's a different topic. And it was something that you can sit there and make 10 minutes a time, and you and I have talked about, like, we've read all the books and not all the books, but we've read a lot of books, and I think that anybody that is hungry for, what it takes to just be that next step, that next level, the little finite details when you get to a point to where you're like, okay, now what can I just like fine tune here? That's where we all turn, is our mental state. how to create that mindset and all those things. And so you and I talked to it, and you're like, you're telling me all this stuff you're doing. You're bringing all this material that's great, that's inspiring. You have such great conviction and confidence, like we were talking about earlier. And I'm like, what? You're doing this for $9 a month? Like, you're crazy. No, why are you doing that? And you're like, no, because this is what I believe in, because this is what I want to do, because this is where my heart is for God. And I admire you so much for that, because it's like you're planting that seed and you're giving people what you didn't have, and you will reap a harvest for that. And so that is just really neat. But talk to me a little bit about like how you go through your process and what Coco Morning Mojo looks like, as far as how you come up with what you're going to talk about and where you're at with that, and the process of, breaking down those messages and sharing them every day with your listeners.
Yes. Well, I'd like to say it's some big elaborate process, but it really isn't. It's very simple. I come up with an idea, and I come up with it. I pray to God, and through the Holy Spirit, He gives me an idea every single week. I don't really plan out too far ahead. I just say, hey, what do you want me to listen to today, God? Like, what can I do to help others? And you know what? So far, it's been spot on every single time. And so all I do is I pray to God, He answers me, and then whatever He has on my heart, I just talk about it. And, it might take a couple takes to record it, or sometimes I'll write the entire thing out. It just kind of depends on what I'm feeling that day. But the consistency of it is really, really good right now. I love it for myself. I wake up, I have my cup of coffee. I have a couple pre-recorded, which is nice. So then there's no stress. And then I can just record today's episode and drink my coffee, have my water. It sets myself up for success for the day, and it helps other people set themselves up for success as well. But I really just focus on that process, just being diligent every single day. And that was the biggest thing I wanted with this program, was consistency. I even say that in my opening. It's all about consistency over intensity, and focusing on your process, defining what your process is and sticking to it. It doesn't matter what the other person's process is, your process, Cody Old's process, Shad Mayfield's process, JJ Hampton's process. No, like, you can take things from each one of those elite performers, but you've got to find your own process and stick to it and trust it. Like your podcast with Cody Old the other day, he talked about that a lot. Focus on that process. Trust your process. And I just try to instill that in every single listener. It's all about the process. Not trying to be redundant, but it's so important.
But it's about the process. We'll just say it.
Yeah.
And, one thing that I kind of want to touch on and dive a little bit deeper into is, I think sometimes we can let me just break this down. Some of the mistakes I made early on in my mental performance strategies and things like that it was like, okay, I'm going to set goals. Okay, set those goals. And then it was like, I was just focused on those outcome goals. Right. And so it was like, I got so honed in on the goals and the outcome of those goals. Man, I looked up and I hadn't even enjoyed the process. Like, I talked to Shelby Bosley one time on this podcast, and she was like, I never even looked up at the crowd after I made a run in the arena. Like, I was just going through my head, the good or the bad on the run, and what we could do on the next one. And I feel like that's easy to get caught up in the focus of the outcome. Yeah. And it's truly one thing I've learned and really tried to stick with and harness as part of my foundation and my routine is being present in the process. Because the outcome, it comes and goes so fast. Even those outcome goals that I have set that I've accomplished, I'm like, okay, next. And then it's like, oh, it's such a depleting feeling of like, okay, I got this goal accomplished. Now what? And so if you don't enjoy the process, the outcome really has no effect. And so you had talked about that. So I want you to break that down from your perspective a little bit on the process versus the outcome.
Yeah. And what you were saying right there is spot on, by the way. Like, it's all about being present. It's all about enjoying the process, because really the journey getting to the outcome, like, the outcome is fun. Like, we do it for the outcome, but you have to enjoy the entire journey getting to that outcome. Otherwise, it's just going to be very, very hard. You're going to be a lot of blood, a lot of sweats, a lot of tears. Like rodeo or any sport, it doesn't matter what you're doing, business, life, marriage. I wouldn't know about marriage, but I'm just assuming from watching my parents, like, it's all hard. And if you don't enjoy the journey, the little highlights, it's not enough. And so you've got to focus on enjoying the process every single day. And one thing you just said, and this is all, by the way, from the book With Winning in Mind by Lenny Bassam. He is a Olympic champion in shooting sports. If you have not read that book, by the way, it's amazing, Jordan.
It is
with
amazing.
winning in mind.
I've read it.
Yes.
One
It's
of
like my
my
Bible
good
for sports
friends,
psychology.
seriously, and one of my good friends, she is actually, he's her mental coach. And so
Wow.
I love visiting with her and just, gleaming from the things that he's telling her. And a lot of it too is just what he said in the book, over and over and trusting that process. But yeah, it's a great book. If you don't have it, I would definitely recommend reading it.
Absolutely. And so basically, I was recommended that book by a very good friend of mine earlier this year. And that book literally changed my life. I went from being a mediocre roper to being able to compete with some of the best guys around. And what it changed was, it wasn't my practice. It wasn't my ability to do things. All it was changing my thought process before I competed. And it changed my thought process from, I've got to win. I'm broke. I have no money. I've got to catch this calf. I've got to tie this calf in 8. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to. And that is an outcome orientation over a process orientation. When we think about the outcome, what it does, Jordan, is it puts us in a place of fear of the future. And when we're thinking about the future, we're not in the present. And we need to be in the present to be in the zone. When we're thinking, that puts us into our conscious mind, which is totally irrelevant and does not help us at all. Like, one thing that Raymond always said to me, especially like the first year of college rodeo, is I was at a rodeo one time, like he could tell, like I was like shaking. I was like, my mind was gone. I was so nervous and I was so focused on, I've got to catch this calf. I've got to be fast. And he just looked at me and said, Colter, calm down, focus on the score. And I took a deep breath, saw my calf, and I went. And you know what? That is what it's all about. Focus on the things that you can control. What can I control? I can control my thoughts. There's a universal law out there that says I can control what I think about for a short period of time. Now, throughout the day, we're going to drift. We're going to go in and out of the zone. But for a short period of time, I can manipulate my mind and say, no, I am only going to focus about this, because I can either focus on negative things or positive things. And so if I can focus on the positive, focus on what my process is, which is a set of steps to achieve my outcome, by doing that and focusing on those steps, I can be closer to achieving my outcome. It doesn't guarantee you're going to win every single time, but it's going to guarantee you to set yourself up for success, for confidence. And eventually, if you continue to do that and trust in this journey, you will see more outcome. You will see more success. You will see more money, more fame, more glory, all that stuff. And that's a whole nother channel, and, maintaining and dealing with all that, as you know. But staying present in the moment is probably one of the biggest things when it comes to focusing on the process. And then it comes to dealing with external factors. When you start getting bigger in rodeo, like I couldn't even imagine what's like roping at the NFR. Like the pressure, the excitement. You've been working on this for your entire life. The crowds, the camera, being on Cowboy Channel, on the Cowgirl Channel. Wow, there's a lot going on there. And if you're not really, really dedicated to being honed in on what you're doing, there's a lot of things that can distract you. Even the simple things, the weather. Think about rainy rodeos. People freak out. Or even in the northern country, when it starts to snow, it's not very fun to be roping a calf when there's an ice sheet over the arena. Like, that's scary. But you have to focus on what you can do right this second, and don't let the external factors control you, because you can't control the external factors. The only thing you can control is yourself. And so focus on the things you can control is so important in life, in sports, and in business.
Well, and I love all of that you said right there. And I'm sitting here and I'm listening to you, and it's like, it makes me ponder the question, as a college athlete, you came from Cody, Wyoming, you came down to the Panhandle, now you're in Stephenville, and you have been exposed to all of the levels of roping that you can see. It's kind of ironic. You were at the guest ranch with all of the, high profile celebrities and all those things. And then you migrated down to Stephenville and you're around all the high profile ropers and all of these things, high profile ropings, events, NFR qualifiers. And not that it's only in Stephenville, but there's a big majority of them right there in your area that you're in.
Oh, absolutely.
So what are some of the takeaways and some of the things that you've learned and gleaned from being in that atmosphere? And what advice would you give from somebody that is not there yet, that wants to be there?
What I say to a lot of people up north is they don't understand how much these guys get to rope down south. Like growing up in Wyoming, I didn't have a covered arena. We just had an outdoor pen. Very blessed to have it because a lot of people didn't even have that growing up. But you can only rope for 4 months out of the year with nice weather, maybe 5 months out of the year consistently with kind of crummy weather. Like you just don't have the practice consistency. You don't have the rodeos, you don't have the jackpots, you don't have the horsepower, and you don't have anyone else to sharpen you. Iron sharpens iron just as one man sharpens another. That's one of my favorite verses from Proverbs. And that is what's so true about being in Texas, being down in the South, is that there's a lot of iron to sharpen you down here. Like living in Stephenville, I could drive literally a mile in any direction from my apartment, and I can meet a world champion in any of the events I compete in. Team roping, calf roping, breakaway. They're right there, and they're so willing to help you that I've learned so much just by being around these people. And so what can I say to the people who live up north and don't have that opportunity? Well, get the DVDs, study them, try and call them. Like I have learned that by just reaching out to people, they want to talk to you most of the time. Like some people may not, but if you call 10 world champions, I guarantee you at least 5 of them are going to call you back because they genuinely love the sport. They genuinely love to help people. And so why would you waste that opportunity? And then for the kids who live in Texas, don't take for granted what you have. I see a lot of young kids who grew up with an indoor arena, with all the horses, with all the cattle, with all the equipment, with all the ropings, with all the jackpots, all the money, and they take it for granted. They think everyone has that. No, that is such a gift from God. Please don't be spoiled. Please focus on what you have available for you and work your tail off. If you want it, if you have decided in your heart that this is what I'm supposed to do, I'm supposed to rodeo, I'm supposed to be a champion, you stinking put your nose down and you work on it. You work on it smart. Don't work on it stupid. Don't work past your goals, but work on it and do not take for granted what you have. That's probably the biggest 2 things I would say.
So what was that deciding factor for you, as a kid in Cody, Wyoming, what was really that conviction for you that said like, hey, I want to be a tie down roper or, you said, a while back in our conversation that you really you ate it up. You loved all the mental performance things that you had done and the programs that you had been through. So what was that deciding factor for you to know this is where I'm headed and this is where I want to go?
Well, it's kind of a crazy story, but I'll go through it as quickly as I possibly can. So when I was about 16, I was running production at the Cody Night Rodeo. I was running music there every single night, June, July, and August, every single day. And I was also a full-time ski instructor, had a lot of things going on, but I was in the process of being that kid in Wyoming who didn't have live calves. I didn't get to practice on live calves until I went to college, Jordan. Like we didn't have anything. Like we had a perfect calf dummy, very blessed to have that, but we didn't have very many resources. And I didn't get to rodeo in Cody because I was always working instead of playing there. And so I got very discouraged my sophomore and junior years of high school because I worked so hard and I wanted it so bad. I wanted to be the state champion. I wanted to go to the high school finals. I wanted to be that guy. And I wasn't. I blew it 3 times in a row. 3 times in a row. Short round, had a chance to go to the high school finals, and I blew it. And it just destroyed me because I put such a high pedestal. I made it into an idol, and it didn't work. And it just crushed me. And I even quit tie-down roping rodeo altogether for almost a year. And then it was during COVID and all that stuff. And it was really tough time for me. I decided, you know what? I'm done with rodeo. God, this is on you. I love horses. I love to rope, but I don't think I want to do this anymore. And so I just focused on skiing. I really progressed my career as a ski instructor. I really progressed my career as a sound technician and as an announcer. And that was a great time in my life for those avenues. But rodeo was just not existent. And then I got a call from Travis Edwards, a really cool guy, which I know you know. He lives in Stephenville. And he heard me announce and run music in Cody. And he said, hey, how would you like to go to Australia? I said, and I didn't know Travis at this time. And I thought it was a prank. And I said, yeah, that sounds cool. Call me next week and we'll discuss it. Well, it turns out 6 months later, I was sitting on a plane going to Australia with Travis, and we were putting on a rodeo over there for me to announce and run music at. And that's awesome. A trip of a lifetime. It was during my senior trip, basically. I was 17 at the time. And when I was there, I had the opportunity to get to rope again. I hadn't roped in probably 6 months, and Travis was putting on a tie-down roping school. And he let me hop on one of the horses there, and I got to rope a calf for the first time. And at the end of that session, he's like, wow, Colter, when you make the NFR one day, you have to give me a ticket. And it was a terrible run, too. Like, it was like a 15 flat. Like, it was bad. But I had never had someone believe in me besides my family. And
Mm.
even though he may be even joking when he said that, I'm like, really? Like, I believed it at the time. I'm like, you think I can do something like that? You think I can make the NFR? And everything changed right there. And I
Mm.
decided, you know what? I'm going to do it. I don't care. I'm going to focus on what I can do. I don't have the horsepower. I don't have the money. I don't have the connections, but I do have the desire to do so. And I believe that if you have a desire to do something and it's not something evil, it's something good, it is a God-given desire, and you should pursue that to the ends of the earth, no matter what it is, because that, I believe, is how you glorify God. And so I said, let's do it. I talked to Maury Tate. He's the producer of the Cody Night Rodeo. He was a top 20 guy in the PRCA several times, used to own, well, still does own, Mo Better Clothing Company. Yeah, like
Yep.
the guy's a legend. And I said, Maury, I want to be a calf roper. What do I do? He said, you got to go to Texas. You've got to go to Texas. You've got to go down south. All the good guys are down there. And if you want to be one of the good guys, you've got to be down there too. I said, yes, sir. I started making phone calls. I called Kaylee Moyer, who I had known for a long time. They were kind of family friends of ours from sixth grade on. And I said, hey, Kaylee, I'm interested in coming down to school somewhere down there. I don't know anyone in this region. Would you maybe help me out with getting some connections? And I didn't even think that she would even want me on the team. And she offered me a full ride scholarship on the phone right there. I'm like, what? And so I took it seriously from then on. And I think I was 17. And so that was a decision to go all in with rodeo, go all in with everything I do with life. And that was a deciding moment to, all right, we're doing it. We're dedicated. And no matter what happens, we're sticking with it. The ups, the downs, the highs, the lows, we're going for it. So that was the story.
I love it. It gives me the goosebumps. And, I'm so glad I asked that question, because that is, it's just so good. I mean, my husband, he also did not come from a rodeo family. And so when he was 13, his ag teacher actually gave him a horse to ride, told him he could come run the chute, all those things. And then it was history from there. But just the fact that you made your mind up and you're like, this is what I want to do. And you started asking for help. I think that's one of the things in our industry for me that I was like always so proud. I was not asking for help, and I was going to figure it out, and I was going to power my way through it. And I feel like I lost so much time by doing that. And now I'm just like, help me,
Yeah.
As many people as I can ask questions, I do. But I love the fact that you made your mind up and you were like, at no limits, I'm going to go and I'm going to do it. And so that's something else that I kind of wanted to touch on too, that we had discussed, was the upper limits that you talk about on the Coco Morning Mojo. So let's go in and dive into that a little bit.
So the upper limits, like, this is a great book. There's a book out there by Dr. Gay Hendricks. It's called The Big Leap. I don't know if you've read that one before, but that's a great one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to get it.
Check
Amazon,
it out.
Here we come. The Big
Leap.
The
Big Leap. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And he talks about this in depth. So I'm going to try and condense all of his information down to a short segment. But I want you to think about your comfort zone, right? That's like the temperature that we're able to sustain our being in, right? Like, that's where we're comfortable with being, whether it's roping, whether it's life. We have this comfort zone. And whenever we get to the edge of this comfort zone, we always come back to it. That's our subconscious mind, whether it's in weightlifting, in life, anything. We always come back to what's normal, what's comfortable. So to use an analogy, think about your thermostat. When you have a house and you set your thermostat to 60 degrees, if the temperature outside rises and makes the inside temperature go up to 62, the thermostat's going to kick on and bring that temperature inside back down. Until we change our internal thermostat to what temperature we actually want, we're going to stay at 60 degrees in rodeo, in life, in business, in relationships, everything. And we can believe, we can want, oh, I want this, I want a gold buckle, or oh, I want $1 million, or oh, I want an awesome, loving relationship. But until you actually go in there and change that temperature, nothing is going to change. Now, the big $1 million question: how do I actually change my paradigm? How do I actually change what my comfort zone is? Well, it's going to be a lot of hard work. It's going to be time. It's not going to wake up one day and say, oh, I am enlightened and I am the highest, utmost potential that I can possibly be. No, it's a process. It's a journey. You got to stick with it every single day. But the biggest thing that you can do is change your thoughts. Take account of every single thought you have every single day. See whether they're positive. See whether they're negative. See where your thoughts lie. I talk about this on the Mojo quite a bit. See where every thought is, and then change it to be positive, right? If it's a negative thought, oh, I'm not enough. Oh, I'm overweight. Oh, I'm broke. I suck. Change those to, I am good looking. I am abundant. I am prosperous. I am successful. I am able. And you have to do that with conviction. You have to believe what you're saying. If you're not believing it, you're just saying lies to yourself. Like the looking in the mirror and chanting things doesn't work because you don't believe it. So you have to put conviction in there. There's another book out there by Chase Hughes. It's called The Ellipsis Manual. And he talks about this. You have to use, for some people, and I've done this with myself, use repulse. Use repulse to make you believe something. So I put on my mirror, and this is crazy. Some people looked at me like I was the craziest guy around. But I put on a piece of paper in front of my mirror where I brush my teeth every single morning. Colter, you are the worst calf roper in the entire Southwest region. Sincerely, Coco. And you know what? Even right now, just saying that, it gives me a pit in my stomach. I said, that is such a lie. That is from the enemy. That is stupid. I am the best calf roper. Whether it's true or not, I believe it, right? And I will be that one day. And I've had conversations with so many good champions. I said, hey, if you're trying to get past this, use repulse maybe. You've got to change. You've got to break through your thinking processes, because whatever you put into your mind is going to produce whatever you put in there. Earl Nightingale had this great analogy of the mind, that if it's a garden, you can plant corn, right? You can plant corn in your garden. It's a great crop. It'll feed you. It's nutritious, but not an inch away from that same plant, the corn, you can plant nightshade, which is a deadly poison and will kill you within minutes of eating it. The mind is the same way. If we put seeds of doubt, seeds of failure, seeds of fear, it's going to grow a big old tree, and you don't want that in your mind. But you have the ability to uproot that and replace it with a seed of success, seed of belief, seed of faith, seed of I am enough. And you have to say that over and over and over and over and over. And eventually you will believe it. It's just like a song. We hear all these songs all day long in the radio, and we haven't heard the song in 5 years. And it comes on, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis, Thrift Shop. Like, oh yeah, I'm up, pop some tags. You can just sing the entire song verbatim because it's been played so many times over and over and over and over. You will never forget that until the day you die, because it is ingrained in your subconscious mind. Ingrain good things into your subconscious mind. By doing so, by taking control of the thoughts you have, by taking control of what you allow into your mind, the music, the people around you, the books you read, the shows you watch, you can change your attitude, you can change your paradigm, and get out of your comfort zone.
Well, and I love that. And, as you're talking about tracking your thoughts, I'm sitting here writing down, what does it look like if you were honest and tracked your thoughts every day?
It'd be scary.
And what thoughts are you having?
Yeah.
It's like, oh gosh, I don't know if I really want to look at that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like then you're bringing it to the light. You're making it aware. It no longer has a hold on you. It's no longer a stronghold. It's like, okay, hey, yeah, I'm having this negative thought. Okay, let's break it down. Why? Where's it coming from? What's it stemming from? What's the root? Let's get down to the root of it. And then you bring it to the light and you can conquer that thing.
Yes.
But if you always suppress it and you're just like override, that it doesn't ever go away, and then it just consumes you, and it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden you're just scared to do anything. So you get defeated, you get depleted, and you just quit, or your mind is tired, or whatever wherever that takes you. I know it triggers everybody different, but man, how cool to think we have control of that. That's our choice. And then, what can we do to be better? And some of those tools that you're talking about, you provide on the Coco Morning Mojo and the Inspire Elite Mental Performance. And so that's so cool to know, hey, if you're fed up with where you're at mentally right now, if you're like, I've had enough, I've read the books, it's not working, wherever you're at in that place, this is a tool for you. This is where you can go. And this is something that you can financially afford. And you also have time for. If you can't take 10 minutes for yourself, you're in the wrong. You're just.
You need to wake up earlier. You need to wake up earlier is what you need to do. To take a course on time management. That's what you need.
Yeah, exactly. Time management for sure. I'm definitely a morning person. My husband is definitely an evening person. So wherever you're at with that, just take that time. But I mean, man, there's just so many great tools here, and I'm very excited for you, Colter. You have such a big future ahead of you. And I'm just proud of all of the things you've done and your conviction and your courage to step out and start this journey with Inspire Elite Mental Performance. I get a little tongue tied saying that, but
Yeah,
mainly
it is a big one.
Coco Morning Mojo. I mean, nobody's going to forget that Coco Morning Mojo.
Yeah.
And it's something that, I look forward to. And I'm very excited for you and where you're at. So, you guys, we're going to have a link on our show notes. We will have a link for you. And we'll also have a link on all social media profiles if you want to go and sign up for your free trial of the Coco Morning Mojo. I would definitely recommend it, y'all. It's something that has been just a staple to any kind of morning routine, and it's great to put in there. But Colter, I have one more question for you that I ask everybody that comes on my podcast, which we've talked about this a little bit, but I want to go into it more. If you had to go back and tell younger Colter something, what would it be and why?
Yeah. So I actually took a little bit of time to think about this. And the thing that I would say to my younger self, I could go back to when I was 14, 13, I would say, Colter, people are going to say a lot of crap about you. They're going to say, you can't do this, you can't do that. You definitely can't do both of them at the same time. And I say, whatever God has put into your heart, whatever God has said, okay, this is what I want you to do. Whatever your dreams are, whatever your aspirations are, those are God-given desires, and you pursue all of them. It doesn't matter if there's 15 or 1, whatever that desire is in your life, you focus on that and you figure out a way how to make that accomplished. And then spend more time reading books, spend as much time talking to people who are more successful than you, and have no fear of rejection, because everyone's afraid. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone has doubt. When you realize that, you realize you're not alone, and things obviously just become way less scary. So focus on the process every single day and define what your process is and stick to it every single day to glorify God.
Amen. I love that. Well, Colter, thank you so much for coming to the show, for sharing your story today on how the Coco Morning Mojo came about, how you made it down to Texas. So thankful that our paths have crossed, and I am just cheering for you. And thanks for coming to the show today, y'all. If you want to get a free Coco Morning Mojo trial, like I said, go to our show notes, check it out. We will also have it on our website, on our blog, everywhere we are present. You can find it. Go and sign up. It will definitely be something that's worth your time and an investment for yourself. That's what I would say. The biggest thing is this is an investment for you, and make that investment. So, Colter, thanks for coming to the show today, and we'll see you down the road.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jordan. Good luck. Drive safe, and God bless.
Thank you for joining us on In the Loop Breakaway Roping Podcast. I truly appreciate all of your loyal support. Don't forget to leave me a review, share this episode with a friend, and if you have any questions, I want to hear from you. Email me at jordan@thebreakawayropingpodcast.com. Go check us out, sign up for our newsletter, get our email alerts, text alerts, and all things breakaway roping. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you down the road.